Greetings, fellow men. Servus Männer. It's Red Pill Germany again. Today I want to talk about a topic that is very, very important in Germany, maybe also important in your country, and it is sports, but more specifically, it is football. To all my American listeners out there, when I say football today, I mean the sport that you refer to as soccer, of course. So I want to break this talk down into two major parts. The first part deals with my view on football in Germany in general and how it was politicized in recent years, especially by Angela Merkel. In the second part, I want to touch upon a scandal that broke recently, a scandal involving two Central Asian football stars in our national team. So let's jump right into it. Of course, mass media and big sporting events have always been used by politicians. Politicians, of course, always want to see pictures in the newspapers and on the television with them posing, smiling next to a sports star or an idol. Also, sports events have always been used more or less as propaganda instruments by the powerful elites or politicians. Angela Merkel did not invent this, of course. The idea of money and games or bread and games for the masses is a very old idea going back to the Romans, of course, and the idea is that when they have entertainment and their bellies are full, they will not revolt. And in modern times, you can also say if our national team is doing well, then Germans are generally happy and they are in a good mood, and they're also focusing a lot on football and they talk a lot about football, so their attention, their focus gets taken away from other things, and you can actually get a lot of things done, a lot of laws passed behind the electorate's back. So it is a common practice, of course, to pass controversial laws during the summer break or just during one of those major sporting events such as the Olympic Games, the Euro Cup or the World Cup. Just right now, as one of the examples that they're doing right now again, the political parties have voted now for a bill that will increase the tax money that is going directly to the parties in Germany. So the political parties get more money out of the taxpayer's pocket, and they just do that during the World Cup, of course, when no one is really paying any attention to what's going on in the German parliament. These things are pretty unspecific for Germany and not really specific for Angela Merkel as well. Although she perfected this also to a certain degree, and she always made sure that she is seen together with the coach or the players of the national team. They were seen as her boys, so to speak. It even went so far that she visited them in the showers, in the changing rooms, and some of them were half naked. Just imagine how that would be if some 70-year-old male politician would come into the showers with half-naked women to congratulate them after they won a game. But we don't really have to ask ourselves the question because no one watches women's sports to begin with. So aside from having a sedating effect on the German electorate and the general population in Germany, the national team was used under Angela Merkel as a propaganda tool to sell the idea of civic nationalism or multiculturalism to the German people. The German political class, together with the German Football Association, reformed our national team to represent the new Germany. So that means the team needed to be diverse, and you all know what that means, right? Of course, nobody knows really how the national coach was actually choosing who to nominate for the team, but the desired goal was to present to the German public a diverse team with many skin colors and many backgrounds. The idea is that when the German football fan or the German supporter of the team sees on the television this colorful mixed group of Germans and new Germans fighting together in a team against other nations for our country, then they would see that civic nationalism works and they are just fighting against the other teams just as us, and there is a sense of community, a common opponent and a uniting bond between the people who have been here longer and the people who have been here for not so long. Now this really works well if those newcomers behave and they all sing the anthem and they all win games and score goals. Did you, for example, know that the German football national team is no longer called the national team, die Nationalmannschaft, but is now only referred to as die Mannschaft, the team? That already tells you everything you need to know about the sickening and disgusting propaganda techniques that the elites are using in the context of the German football team. And I think this is why it was so important for Angela Merkel that we won the last World Cup back in 2014, and especially how we humiliated the Brazilian team. Angela Merkel is not a sports fan. She does not know anything about football. She never played sports. But when she was cheering for our team and when she was celebrating the victory of our team 4 years ago, I think it was not all stage acting. She was truly and honestly delirious with joy, and it was like Christmas and Easter coming on the same day for her, because it was that moment when she knew that she can get away with almost anything in the coming 4 years. And you all know what happened just in the fall of the next year, 2015. She learned mass psychology, propaganda and agitation in the Soviet Union, and she is an expert on these questions. So she knew exactly what kind of effect it has on the German population when they win the World Cup in 2014. It might not be the only factor, but it is a very important factor, and she knew about that. So she could present this winning team as the new formula of success for Germany, a diverse mixed team where everyone is giving their best and working together for the common victory. Of course, I knew all along that the Germans are actually the only people together in this group who actually believe this stuff, who actually drank the Kool-Aid. All the other people, all these foreigners, all these xenoi, they know quite well that none of this is true. Of course, you need to be a German citizen if you want to play for the national team, and in football you can decide for what national team to play only once in your life. So all these Anatolian, Middle Eastern players, they have the German citizenship and the German passport, of course. Now I have many Turkish acquaintances, co-workers and some friends even, and they all say the same thing. None of them says that they feel like a German. They say the German passport is just a piece of paper and they just got it for convenience or for financial gain, or because they don't need a visa anymore if they want to travel to the United States, for example. Yes, when these Turks get the German citizenship here in Germany, they can also benefit from the visa waiver program and travel freely to the United States. And of course they know that they're not altered on a molecular level and their genome reforms once they sign on the dotted line and are handed the German passport. They still stay Anatolians or Middle Easterners, people whose origins are in the plains of Central Asia. This is why the scandal I want to relate to you right now did not come as a surprise to me, because I know these people. They are woke and red-pilled on biology, if you wish. But for the German do-gooder SJWs, this came as quite a surprise. Now, as some of you might know, currently there is an election campaign going on in Anatolia. The Emperor of Turan wants to be re-elected, so he also uses the spotlight and he also wants to be seen and photographed together with sports stars. And he did that recently with 2 members of the German national team. Now the thing is that these 2 athletic gentlemen are not subjects of the Grand Sultan, but instead they only have German passports. So, and it was very embarrassing and inconvenient when one of them signed a sports jersey with the words, "To my beloved president." So what does that mean? Technically speaking, it is not his president. Frank-Walter Steinmeier is his president and Angela Merkel is his chancellor. This is what the blue pill German thinks, of course. I know quite well that they see the big Sultan as their president. And that is of course hilarious. So let me tell you what the reactions from the average German or the German football fans were. I have colleagues that are super left-wing. They are green, environmentalists, socialists, but they said even that our national coach should have fired them, kicked them out of the national team, because this is disrespectful to the Germans and to the German nation, blah de blah de blah. I was just laughing because, I mean, I was not surprised by that, but these blue pillars, their bubble of civic nationalism burst by this event. And many of them criticized these two Anatolian gentlemen in a very direct manner. I think the story is hilarious because it is a slap in the face for Angela Merkel, and basically they just spit in the faces of all the Germans who think that these newcomers actually feel like Germans now and they have any common bond or any ties to us. There is no feeling of we. They feel quite distinct from us and they want nothing to do with us. This is just a piece of paper that they adopted for convenience and for personal gain. That's at least what all of my Turkish acquaintances tell me quite openly. And it is also interesting that this year we are actually doing not so well in the World Cup so far. We've lost the game against Mexico, and just in a couple of hours the game against Sweden will start. Now if we lose against Sweden, we're pretty much out of the competition. And even though I kind of want the German team to win, I feel that for the greater good of the nation it would be hilarious and glorious if we actually lost that game, because then Germans could focus on the really vital issues that are going on in Germany right now, and the general frustration and just this lack of artificial happiness and euphoria coming from a win in the World Cup would also not bode so well for Angela Merkel and her endeavor to keep the borders open for as long as she can until Germans are a minority in their own homeland. So I think getting kicked out of the World Cup is a small price to pay for a little more awareness and a little more critical thinking from Germans who have been pretty much asleep for the last years and who didn't really realize what was going on around them so far. So just as the German team struggles to stay in this competition, Angela Merkel is fighting for her political survival, while the German people are getting more and more fed up with her treacherous policies. So let me conclude this little talk with a general statement on patriotism in Germany and football patriotism. This is how we call it. So as you guys know, the German flag and the national anthem and any display of patriotism and German pride are pretty much taboo since World War II. Now every 4 years or so, or if you include the Euro Cup every 2 years, there was a little exception and people were allowed to show a little bit of patriotism only and strictly only in the context of football matches. We call that football patriotism. People who either don't care about Germany or who are embarrassed or too cowardly to show their patriotism during the year are now allowed every 2 years to show that they're proud Germans, consuming many bratwursts and many liters of beer in the process, of course. And of course you have to buy all the black, red and gold plastic decoration crap to show how much you actually love your country. Of course I can understand that, given the fact that all these feelings are repressed normally and people are shamed and called all sorts of names in the book when they show any signs of patriotism. The Green Party, for example, urges people not to show their patriotism during the World Cup because it might offend our foreign friends here. Their youth organizations also encourage people to vandalize cars that are decorated with German flags and to smash windows when they see a German flag somewhere in a yard or a garden. Another variation of that is to steal those flags and then pee on them. That is what the Green Party really loves to do. Now you might have guessed it from my tone already, I'm not so fond of this kind of football patriotism. I am not a huge football fan, but I can understand that people seek this kind of relief. And I just hope that in the future people can naturally and healthily express their patriotism and their love for their nation all around the year, and not only at times when our national team has a competition. Okay, I need this thing now to get uploaded before the game starts in roughly 2 hours. So I hope you enjoy your weekend. Catch you guys again later. Servus, Kameraden.